Yes, so welcome to Physiology. This is Omar the Great. I'll be taking you through introduction to physiology. I'll be introducing the subject and basic concepts on what physiology means, a brief background on physiology. So just follow through, like, and subscribe if you like this video. Yes, and we shall be moving together. So physiology, simply, this is the study of how the human body works, and it involves the science that relates to the body structure and function. And through this concept of physiology, we're able to explain the characteristics and the mechanisms that actually facilitate and animate life. What are some of these life-sustaining activities that you know? You know, everything that occurs in someone's life today. If you wake up one day, if you wake up in the morning, you decide to move, you decide to move to get something to eat. All these processes that you perform as a human are actually engaged into this concept of physiology. So here we get to explain how the details on how each of these processes in the human body actually work. Okay, so this is more about our physiology. Briefly about the background. This word, actually, this concept of physiology, this word was generated from a Greek word that's about 600 before Christ, and it meant a physiological inquiry into the nature of things. And the ancient Greek actually often used these words, physis, which literally means the nature or the origin, and then logia, which means study of. So this is how this word came to existence. So the term physiology actually was first introduced by Jean Fennel, who was a French physiologist. This was around 1497 to 1558. And literally, he meant the study of nature or origin of things. So this is about the background of this concept or subject of physiology. So our emphasis will actually be more on human physiology, and the human body is actually organized in different levels, where we have the chemical level, the cellular level, the tissue level organ, and the body system. So when you look at the chemical level, you're going to be referring to the different molecules or micro and macromolecules that tend to come together. So for example, if you have carbon atoms, hydrogen atoms, and oxygen atoms, if these complex together, you can actually form a carbohydrate, you can form a lipid, you can form a protein, and this form a basic fundamental chemical as background for the human body. Because when you have carbohydrates, then you form what we call complex of carbohydrates, proteins, and lipids. You form what we call cells. For example, cell membrane. This is composed of mainly lipids and also proteins. So this form the cellular layer as we see. So different cells actually count that are specialized to perform a specific function come together to form what we call a tissue. So, and different tissues that are differentiated to perform a specific function, they form what we call an organ. For example, different cells of the heart, okay, what we call the cardiomyocytes. So these cells actually, when they come together, they form the cardiac tissue. And this cardiac tissue actually, it forms an organ, organized from an organ called the heart. And this heart functions as a very special unit or part of a very important system in our body called the circulatory system. So this is an example of how actually the human body is organized. So did you know that actually about 100 trillion cells are composed within the human body? It's interesting to know, but each cell actually is well adapted to perform one or more of its functions. For example, red blood cells, this in the body, there are about 25 trillion cells, and these are actually very specialized to transport oxygen from lungs to tissues. Yeah, as we shall look more in our discussion. So, and usually about 70 trillion other cells actually are designed or differentiated to perform functions that are a little different from that of the red blood cells. You cannot talk about this concept of physiology if you don't exploit the subject of the fluid constitution of the body. It's important to know that actually largely the biggest percentage of our human body is a constituent of water, okay, or what we call body fluids. And this water solution, as I will tell you, is a composition mainly ions and other substances, as we shall see. So which will be important for us to know, for us to see and know the different compartments, the distribution of this body water, of these body fluids, and the composition, and also volume and measurements per each compartment. Okay. So, however, before we dig deep into our discussion, you realize that actually these body fluids or water are very significant in our body, are very significant in our body. For example, these body fluids or water, okay, which make up a biggest constituent. For example, one of the most important transport tissue in our body is actually blood. So these body fluids play a big role in as a transport medium for nutrients and other essential substances in and out of our cells. Well, but also they play a big role in metabolism because they act as a medium for various metabolic activities, and also necessary for the texture of tissues. If you look at tissues of the body, for example, the eyes, the eyeball, which is consisted of the aqueous humor and the vitreous humor, that make the biggest, that play this big role to maintain the texture or this eyeball nature of the eye, is a big constituent of these body fluids. But also this water actually plays a big role in body and temperature regulation and a fundamental role in homeostasis. Surprisingly, I'm not sure if you really knew that 60% of your adult human body is actually fluid. If you know, then that's cool. But if you didn't know, something important for us to know that the biggest percentage of your human body is actually water, whereby 2/3 of that total body water is actually found within your cells, but 1/3 of this is found within the extracellular fluid compartment. So actually, we divide the body fluid compartments into two. We have the extracellular fluid compartment and the intracellular fluid compartment. And as I've already mentioned, 2/3 make up the intracellular, which is the largest fraction, and then the 1/3 will make up the intracellular. We shall dig more about to see the different fractionated distribution of each. But what is the significance, the clinical significance of us knowing this is that if you compare a male and a male will have more total body water than the female. And why? The difference is magic here. It's not magic. What I mean is females have more fat, okay? And if you look at the structural organization and orientation of fat cells, is that they have less of water. So if you have more of fat, then you'll have less of water. So that's why males will have a total body water that is higher than that of females. And so if you compare similarly an obese person and a lean person, an obese person has more fat, so will have less total body water compared to a lean person. That's very important for you to know, okay? So as we dig deep in our discussion, this is just an illustration to show you the distribution. This, as you can see here with my cursor, this is our cell, which largely has intracellular fluid, and then the extracellular composed of the plasma and the interstitial fluid, as you can see right here. So another important clinical relevance is as we distribute body water in, for example, you look at the neonate, 80% of the neonate's body is actually water, okay? And then as the neonate starts to grow, becomes an infant, a child, so you see the total body water actually tends to decrease. To adulthood, if you compare a male and female, still, as we have said, the male will have more body water compared to a female who will have less total body. And according to the illustration, you can see 60% for male, 50% for female, due to the high adipose tissue and the low muscle mass compared to that in the male. So this also shows you the distribution, percentage distribution. In the female, as we can see, 45% of their body is solids and 55% fluids, compared to males, as we can see, 40% solids and then 60% fluids. So this uniformity in distribution, you see that actually the 60% distribution of fluid, similar like that of the female. So on average, if you take a 70 kilogram body, 70 kilogram male body weight, you see that 2/3 of this body water will be actually intracellular, and 1/3 of it will be extracellular. And the extracellular fluid compartment is composed of the interstitium, or what we call also interstitial fluid, but also constituted of plasma. So, but more of the biggest fraction of intracellular fluid is actually within the interstitium, which takes about 80%, and 20% for the plasma. As we can see, This table will illustrate to you what I'm trying to talk about. So as we say, total 60% total body water. So the intracellular fluid compartment, which is 2/3. So 2/3 of 60 will actually give you the 40, which is 40% of total body water. Similarly, extracellular will be 1/3 of the 60, which is 20%. So the extracellular fluid compartment, we shall fractionate it where we say we have the plasma and also the intracellular fluid, the interstitial. So the plasma makes will make 1/4 of that extracellular fluid compartment, and that gives you just 5%. And then the interstitium will make 3/4, which will give you 15%. So we shall also look at the composition in terms of ions and other, mainly ions. Those are cations and anions. As you can see, much of the intracellular will have more potassium and less of sodium, but extracellular will have more of sodium and less of potassium, as we shall see. So, but if you read more literature, you realize there are some, this body fluid compartmentalization is actually more distributed into, there is one they always leave out, which is the transcellular fluid. So the different parts of your body that actually have more fluid. And this fluid there is not part of the extracellular, is not part of the intracellular, but it's part of the total body water that is composed within your body. So for example, we have the cerebrospinal fluid that's within your spinal canal. So that makes up part of your transcellular fluid. Aqueous swimmer, as I already told you about the eye, secretions that are made by the digestive tract and associated organs. So also from the renal tubular secretions, the urine in the bladder, and the rest, as we shall see. Okay, so this illustration now will give you the distribution of this total body water in terms of liters, where we said 40 liters will be the total body water, and the intracellular, which makes up 2/3, will make 22 liters, and then the extracellular will make 18 liters. But remember, extracellular is divided into the plasma, which will take 2.75 liters, and then interstitium with 12 liters, and the other little constituent of the fluid, which may account for about 3.25 liters, as we shall see. So the ion distribution I already told you about, mainly ions like sodium, which are very vital, are composed with the extracellular fluid compartment. And then potassium, which is very primary also within the intracellular fluid compartment. So you can pause this video, look at this table. It gives you different ranges of the constituents of different ions and other nutrients within the extracellular fluid compartment. Pause, have a look, and you can actually take notes. And another important subject or discussion in line with body fluid compartments and compartmentalization and the relevance of body fluids in our body is actually the subject or concept of fluid balance. And this is very simple, it's about what you take in and what you take out. In our bodies, there should be a balance between what you take in and what you take out. And this is what we call fluid balance. So the amount of water lost or taken in should be equal to the amount of water that is lost or taken in. So if I take in 5 liters, for example, that's if you can take all the 5 liters. But if I take in 5 liters, I should be able to bring out 5 liters. This demonstrates the fluid balance concept. So input is actually should be equal to the output. So for illustration, if you have a look at this, you see that input from metabolism, usually processes produce about 10% of fluid, which means about 250 mils. Foods that we take in about 30%, and then maybe daily beverages, which may account about 60%, which is 1.5 mils liters. So total of this will give us 2.5 liters of fluid that we take in. So this is the input. Then the output should be 2.5 liters together. So how will this come about? So feces, if you pass out stool, that's about 4%, which is 100 mils. Sweat, 8%, which also makes up 200 mils. Insensible water losses from skin as you sweat, this will make about 28%, and that's about 700 mils. And urine finally makes 60%, which is 1.5 mils. So the total of this will also give us the 2.5 liters. So you see a balance between input and output. So if on the other side, on my right, you'll actually see that intake, we are trying to balance the compartments. So when you intake, much of what you intake actually goes into the plasma, which is part of the extracellular fluid compartment. And then this diffuses through the capillary membranes into the interstitial fluid. And then this actually can diffuse further into the cell and utilize in metabolism. And the waste products of metabolism and what the cells are actually able to release are these actually are releasing through urine in kidneys, through evaporation in lungs, as fecal content, sweat, and skin. So all that what you've taken in should equal to what you are taking out. And this is the concept of actually homeostasis, as we shall discuss more in our upcoming videos. So clinical relevance. So why are we talking about fluid balance? Is actually a subject of edema. So this is simply accumulation of excess water within the tissues. And this is common among patients that have different pathologies of the heart, pathologies of the kidney, and some that may originate from the lungs, as we shall see. So, but also drugs can predispose you. Pregnancy is a physiological state that can actually present with edema. And so this is an illustration. As you can see, if you look at the two hands of this gentleman, you realize that his left hand is normal, but the right hand is actually swollen. And that is actually, it is edematous. That's what we can say. And this is the origin, actually, according to illustration, the history taken was briefly rising from allergic reactions. Well, this is interesting. So, just one question for you to think about from our discussion. If someone has diarrhea, if someone is vomiting, someone has hemorrhage, which fluid compartment is affected here? Tell me your answer, put it in the comment section. We shall discuss more. And I think I should give you one more. This is a very important one. So if solid contributes to movement of water between cells and the surrounding medium, by what process? So just highlight your answer and we shall discuss, put it in the comment section. Also, finally, this I think will be an easy one too. A cation has a dash charge. So yes, let me see what your answer will be. Otherwise, have a look at the remaining questions and answer them. We shall discuss. Otherwise, thank you for listening. Please subscribe, like, and comment. And thank you for listening. Keep in touch, and we shall be looking at the upcoming videos. Thank you.